morning, this is Bob Mason from FX Empire. Welcome to the daily crypto tech review of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple's XRP. Looking at the MACD, the moving averages, the day's support, resistance, and pivot levels, and the Fibonacci's. It is Wednesday, the 31st of March. Jumping straight into Bitcoin against US dollar, we're looking at the hourly candlesticks. Relatively range-bound start to the day here. Going to need to see Bitcoin avoid the pivot at 58,499 to take a run at the first major resistance level, sitting at 59,864. We'll need to see support from the broader market for Bitcoin to break out from yesterday's high. That was at 59,523. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 60,000 to pin Bitcoin back. In the event of an extended rally, got the second major resistance level at 68.87 and the 14th of March swing high 61,699 to target. A fall through the pivot would bring the first major support level at 57,476 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Bitcoin should stay clear of sub 56,000 levels. Second major support level at 56,111 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACDs, we've got a slight narrowing of the bearish histogram, but nothing suggestive of a bullish morning ahead, so keep an eye on that. On the EMAs, the 50 has pulled away from the 100 and the 200 this morning, supporting this early upside. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid the pivot at 48,499 and break out from yesterday's high. That was at 59,523 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels will come into play. Cost of Ethereum against US dollar, it's a bullish start to the day. Going to need to see Ethereum avoid the pivot at 1829 to take a run at the first major resistance level, saying at 1872. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Ethereum to break out from yesterday's high. That was at 1860. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 1900 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, should see Ethereum target resistance at 1950 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 1903. A fall through the pivot will bring the first major support level of 1798 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ethereum should stay well clear of sub 1700s. Second major support level at 1755 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACDs, we've got a slight narrowing of the bearish histogram this morning, but nothing conclusive to suggest a bullish day ahead, so keep an eye on that. On the EMA, the 50 has moved away marginally from the 100 and the 200, still indicating a bullish signal for the Ethereum market. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid the pivot at 1829 and break through to 1860 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels will come into play. Moving across to Litecoin against US dollar, also positive start to the day. Going to need to Litecoin avoid the pivot and the 23.6% fib at 195 to take a run at the first major resistance level at 201. Support from the broader market for Litecoin to break back through to 200 levels. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, should see Litecoin test resistance at 210 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 205. A fall through the pivot and the 23.6% fib at 195 will bring the first major support level at 191 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should stay well clear of sub 180s. Second major support level at 185 should limit any downside. Looking at the MACDs, we're seeing a slight narrowing of the bearish histograms after yesterday's late bearish cross, but nothing suggestive of a bullish day ahead. Need to keep an eye on that. We could see a bullish cross should Litecoin maintain its upward momentum early this morning. On the EMA, the 50 has moved away marginally from the 100 and the 200, with the 100 also pulling away from the 200, a bullish indicator. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid a fall back through the pivot and the 23.6% at 195 and move back through to 200 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels will come into play. Finally, looking at Ripple's XRP against US dollar, range bound start to the day here. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP move through the pivot at 0.5696 to take a run at the first major resistance level, sitting at 0.5798. We'll need to see support from the broader market for Ripple's XRP to break back through to 0.575 levels. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high at 0.58603 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, should see Ripple's XRP target 0.6 levels before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 0.5962. Failure to move through the pivot will bring the first major support level at 0.5532 into play. Buying and extending the sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should stay clear of sub 0.54s. Second major support level at 0.5429 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACDs, bearish histograms, no major movement there through the early part of the day, leaving Ripple's XRP range bound. On the EMA, 50 is also holding its ground on the 100 and the 200, also inconclusive. So key through the early part of the day, Ripple's XRP would need to move through the pivot at 0.5696 and break back through to 0.575 levels to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that, support levels will come into play.